Hello and welcome to the Critically Clueless. Today's video is all about Mountain Blade Bannerlords 2. More specifically, we are going to be talking about policies once you've actually got your kingdom, those all-important policies that you want to be passing within your kingdom to make your life a lot easier. And of course, if you enjoy Bannerlord and want to see more videos just like it, don't forget to hit that like button and of course subscribe to the channel. It helps us out so much and means I can make more videos just like this. Now, the first thing to talk about really is influence. Of course, to pass any policies, you're going to be needing an awful lot of influence in order to do that. So make sure you have yourself a decent amount of influence to actually start passing some of these different policies, because they can cost a lot of influence in order to do so. Influence is kind of like your kingdom's finances. You need an awful lot of it to get what you need done. You need it for armies, for passing policies, and even for waging war. And of course, once you have a decent sized kingdom, sometimes they're going to propose certain things, or you're going to want to propose certain policies that the other members of your kingdom aren't going to like. So you're going to have extra influence just to veto that policy. And that's why a few of these policies I'm going to be talking about today, it's actually better for you to pass as early on in your kingdom as possible. That way they don't get vetoed later on. In fact, most of these policies you're going to be wanting to try and pass before you even get extra vessels in your kingdom, just so that way it's cheaper and easier for you to actually make sure that are in the kingdom before you even really start. And you can see the bar near the middle of the screen right now. It is strictly on the left, meaning that policy is not supported. So it's going to cost you extra to overturn the decision and make it actually pass in your kingdom. In this case, it only cost me a tiny little bit. So let's move on to the first policy that I would approve if I was starting out a kingdom for the first time. And that is Royal Guard. Royal Guard is such an overpowered policy. The ruler's party size increases by 60, meaning you get an extra 60 soldiers in your army. This benefits you only. Non-ruling clans lose 0.2 influence per day, meaning they're not going to like this. So if you pass this early on in your kingdom, it's going to benefit you later in the game. Plus, getting that immediate 60 buff to your army size is just awesome. The next decent one to talk about would be Senate. Tier 3 plus clans gain 0.5 influence per day. Influence cost for inviting lower tier clans to armies is increased, unfortunately, by 10%. But getting that 0.5 influence extra per day, especially when you're not actually doing anything, if you're just traveling your land doing what you normally do without an army, just allowing that influence to build up in your bank for when you need it, it's very powerful. Get it in place as quickly as possible. Now, this next one goes against pretty much the last two that I said, which is, more influence is better. However, this one enables us to have so tier 5 plus clans lose 1 influence per day, and the party size of their leaders, however, is increased by 40. So with the Royal Guard, we've now increased our party size up 100. That is a massive chunk with just 2 policies. Anything that increases party size, I am all up for. Bailiffs is a nice, easy one as well. Nobles have the right to appoint bailiffs is the script, but towns increase in security by 1 per day. Now, security is really easy to get anyway. However, towns with a security greater than 60 yield an additional 1 influence for the owner of that town. So this is really good. This enables us to get back that 1 influence that we just lost, but unfortunately taxes from the towns are reduced by 5%. But again, it's that influence I want more than that cash. And this one just kind of helps the bailiffs, and that's magistrates. Town security is increased by 1 per day. Yes, taxes are reduced yet again, but we're also increasing that security, which in turn will increase our influence. These two go hand in hand. And plus, the better your security in towns, the more stable your towns actually are. Next up, we have forgiveness of debts. Now, we've talked about influence and we've talked about security, but this one increases our settlements loyalty by 2 per day. If your loyalty in settlements reduces too much, they will rebel. And very often a case, your very first castle or town in the game is because the town rebelled. And so policies that actually increase your loyalty can be so useful. Before I actually got this policy in place, my towns were in serious trouble. Just having this one policy in place, an increase of 2 per day in loyalty is massive, especially if you happen to not be the same culture of the town that you've taken over, because that is a -3 straight away. Next up, we have serfdom. Now, this one I actually really like for a couple of different reasons. First of all, villages grant 0.2 influence per day to the owner clan. We've talked about how good influence is. Next up, we've got towns gain 1 security but lose 1 militar. Now, security is good for us because that gets us influence. We've talked about that. However, the losing 1 militar does sound bad at first. However, losing 1 militar means that your militar won't hopefully outmatch your garrison, and your town can't rebel if your garrison is bigger than your militar. So reducing that kind of means that it's going to be harder for that town to rebel if your loyalty does happen to drop. Next up, we have Lord's Privy Council. This is another one that gets us high influence. Tier 5+ clans gain 0.5 influence per day. Cost of inviting lower tier clans, however, do increase by 20%. Personally, I like having tier 5+ clans anyway, so it doesn't really affect me too much, but having that extra influence can really help. Next one is a massive one, especially when it comes to influence. Sacred Magistry, the ruling clan earns 3 influence per day. Non-ruling clans lose 0.5 influence per day. This is one you are going to want to get in early before you have any vessels and without it costing you too much influence to actually pass, because the other clans are not going to be liking this. This and Royal Guard for me are 2 of my absolute top tips or top picks when it comes to policies, early game policies, early kingdom policies. And kind of fitting into everything we've been saying, this is another one which is you're going to be wanting early on in your kingdom is royal privileges. The kingdom decisions, the influence cost of the ruler overriding popular decisions is reduced by 20%, meaning it's going to be cheaper in influence for you to veto certain decisions your other vessels are going to be putting forward. And it can be anything. Sometimes it's going to be a policy. Sometimes it's going to be asking you to go to war. Sometimes it's going to be asking for a castle or a town that you have just captured. They're all going to get together and say, hey, I think it's going to go to A. And you're going to say, no, actually, I think it's not going to go to A. I think it's going to go to me, or I don't want to go to war with the Sturgeons, for instance. It makes your decisions a lot cheaper, and it makes your gameplay a lot easier, especially as a your own kingdom. It's just very vital if you're going to be leading your own kingdom. Let's just leave it at that. And again, an absolute must, especially for late game. You're going to want this early on, and that's royal commissions. The influence cost of creating an army is reduced by 30%. Now, creating an army can cost so much influence. On top of that, armies led by the ruler earn cohesion at 30% less. And armies led by non-ruler nobles cost 10% more influence for them to create as well. It's that top line that we want the most. It costs us less influence to create our armies. And especially late game, if we have an awful lot of vessels and we want those bigger tier numbers, like, into the thousands of troops marching alongside us, it's going to cost us a lot of influence to get those vessels with us. So having this, it does help late game. Another one, Tribunes of the People, I quite like. Now, on paper, we've been reducing our taxes an awful lot, which means we're going to be reducing the amount of money we get. Absolutely agree. However, I like to be a smith, therefore I get all my money from smithing. So the 5% reduction in taxes isn't really a problem. However, getting a town loyalty to increase by 1 per day, for me, is an absolute must. The more and the better my loyalty, it means I don't have to worry about my town rebelling, especially in sieges, or I've captured a town which happens to be not my culture, for instance. I'm managing to veto all of those debuffs out with these certain policies. But that's going to be it for this video. I hope that it's helped you. These are definitely my top tips when it comes to policies that I would pick either for my kingdom or just early game. Definitely need at least a handful of these policies early game before you have any vessels whatsoever. Hope it's helped somebody. If it has, drop it down in the comments. If you have any questions about policies or anything Bannerlords in particular, don't forget to pop that down in the comments as well. I'll do my very best to answer each and every one of you guys. I also have an active and growing Discord. If you want to join that, talk about Bannerlords or just any game you happen to like, the link will be in the description. And thank you very much for watching this video. If you have watched to the end, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video real soon. Until then, happy gaming.